All right, y'all. Let's see what's on the menu.
The strength of a small church is it gives you a sense of community and family. The weakness of a small church is it gives you family.
I do feel like a large church done right is like invincible.
Ask God, is it time for me to leave? What do you think? Should I go to a different church?
Adventism is a spectrum. And so you're going to have different representations or different aspects of Adventism. But at the end of the day, we're all Adventists.
When we agree to be a part of a community, we're also agreeing to subject ourselves to some degree of accountability. All right, guys, I have a question for y'all. If you could only pick one, would you choose a larger modern church or a small traditional church, and why?
Small traditional church.
Whoa.
All the way. One of my best experiences I've ever had inside a church was this small, no more than 100 people, all, excuse my language, white church. And it was just, it was phenomenal. I walk in, I'm immediately greeted. Everybody was like, oh, we're so happy to have you. I sit down and there was a couple that was kind of like a pew up above me and up in front of me. And they were like, hey, do you want to come and sit with us? You want to come and sit with us? And I'm like, oh no, but thank you. And then as the service is going, I see this one person, she's coming down the aisle and she literally embraces me and hugs. She's like, we're so happy to have you. I was like, I'm so happy to be here. It was just such a cool and awesome experience. I'm not saying all small churches are like that, but it was such a nice, small, intimate feel. And sometimes I just miss the where two or three are gathered. They're not in the midst.
Yeah, I feel like you got to be ready for a big church. Because a small church forces you to participate.
That is true.
It's very easy to be at a big church. You don't got to do it. Nothing. You walk in. You don't even got to talk to people.
That's true.
Walk in and you walk out. But I feel like a small church trains you how to be participatory for you to then go to a big church. But if you start off at a big church, you won't be that walk in. And some people like walk in, walk out. It works for some people. But I feel like it doesn't give you the whole grasp of community.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think too, if you're looking for community and you walk into a big church, you're gonna feel alone. You're gonna feel overwhelmed, or maybe not everyone, but I think that's the feeling that I would get walking into a big church. And in the at the times when I have gone to bigger churches and I was looking for like-minded people. Yeah, and then the other thing that I wanted to say was to answer the question, I like the smaller traditional churches. There was this one time I went to this church for the first time, and I went and I tried to walk out at the end, I tried to sneak out. This was during COVID time, and then one of the ladies was like, "Hey, do you want to come to lunch at our house?" Da, da, da.
Wow.
And I was like,
During COVID?
a little bit after it started getting better, a little bit. But it was how churches were closed around that time. So after that, everybody's trying to find their place. I had just moved there. So yeah. But I felt seen.
That makes or breaks a church experience.
It does.
They really do. That make or break a whole church experience.
They made me feel at home. So, and then I went there for 2 years before I moved. So
Wow.
That's awesome. So is anyone here actually for a larger, more modern church?
So I think I want to say the church that I grew up in, my home church back in Miami, is technically a large church, but I think because of all of the fictive kinship, the fictive kinships, of the church aunts and uncles, the brothers and sisters, the fact that I grew up these people from daycare up until pretty much high school, that even though the church number was large, it was family. So it never felt too big. I was never able to be lost in that church. I do think, to your point, Chisa, that the small church does prepare you to be a worker in the church, so like to minister, to be a part of a ministry. And it's hard to like disappear. It's hard to like get away. If you want to like slink out, like no, not without a hug and a greeting and something. But I think what makes or breaks like the large churches is the sense of family that they offer, the sense of like support in different areas, because you have a wide array of personalities. If you're going through a particular issue, you have your options of who you can go to depending on their temperature, you know. And yeah, it's kind of easy. Yeah, you can still disappear in the church if you need to, but I think it's I like the large churches to a degree. I do appreciate the smaller traditional churches, but I think a large traditional church was my upbringing.
I do feel like a large church done right is like invincible. You know, if you have the small groups and you have like the communal, like intentional community, it can be quite a blessing. It's just a lot of times it's really hard to manage, so it can be done not right a lot. I was gonna say more often than that. I don't know if that's true. I don't got the stats, but a lot. You know, what's your perspective?
So I've been stuck on it because I think I can't really say which one is better, because I think for both categories, their strength and their weaknesses are equal. The strength of a small church is it gives you a sense of community and family. The weakness of a small church is it gives you family, family trauma, family issues, and gossip can spread like wildfire among there. And things, perspectives, and reputations you can have are much harder to let go of. Also, when we say traditional, what do you mean by traditional?
That's a good question.
A lot of
Whose tradition?
Whose tradition? What tradition? Because there's some churches where tradition says a woman is never going to be in the pulpit, and do you want that? And so,
Pastor Kristen, what you think about that? What you?
No, I was just scratching my neck because I'm like, well, mercy, Father. I'm with you though. That's a great question. Like, what do you guys mean by tradition? What did you guys have in mind when you asked that question?
It's a good question because, in my experience, tradition really means different things in different places. Caribbean tradition is different than, I don't know, the tradition in Portland. Yeah, I ain't never been to Portland, but I'm assuming it's a little different. You know, even like for me, I grew up in Louisiana. Genuinely learning Adventist culture in the New York metro has been an experience.
It's different.
Yes, because it's like a derivative. It feels to me, this is just my perspective, it feels like a derivative of Caribbean culture. I didn't even know that many Caribbeans growing up. So there are different church hurts that I am not even privy to. And someone brings it up, I was like, I've never even thought about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was looking at Pastor Kristen nodding because I know you grew up in California.
Girl, yes.
Tennessee.
Girl,
And
yes.
I've been to church in California, and it's very different.
Very, very
like
different.
people playing basketball after church at 2 p.m.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like they have
Heresy. Having fun with a ball.
No, but like you know, they got like coffee stations in the middle, of, like before you can go to service. People are coming in like shorts, polo tees, flip flops. Like
this coffee is a curse word.
But anyway, so and that's tradition there, and so you're so correct, girl. Like it really just depends on the tradition and like the region that we are, because here's the thing, like Adventism is a spectrum, and so you're going to have different representations or different aspects of Adventism, but at the end of the day, we're all Adventists. And so you got West Coast Adventists, and then you got East Coast Adventists, you got Midwest Adventists, and then you got Southern Adventists. So, and I think that's the beauty of what is our country, America, but at the same time, it can also be stifling and a curse, because if you're coming from one tradition and it's a culture shock. And that's something that I've definitely experienced since moving here. Like I said, if I could preach in this jeans and a sweater at Kodo, I would. I would.
It's interesting though, because if you did, there's probably a whole new audience that would probably be like, let me go ahead and listen.
Yeah, because there'll be a whole old audience that might not.
said someone got to fill the pews, huh?
Yes, man.
There's suddenly a lot more pews available.
So much extra space now.
It's crazy how that worked. No, that's interesting.
I resonated with what you said about culture shock because I lived in Spain for about 8 months. I studied abroad.
Flex.
And
Flex.
Let them know. Let them
so
know.
it was definitely a culture shock for me. So casual. So casual. People are wearing jeans. And I don't know, they're just a very laid back country in general. So I felt it. I'm like wearing the fanciest dress. And I walk in and I'm like, oh.
They said, what you so dressed up for? Why, where are you going after church?
Right. And I learned.
Spain might be my people for real though. might have to hop over
You
there.
might have to visit. I don't know.
Yeah. No, so that question you asked about tradition, I mean, so much of this stuff comes down to culture. And culture differs across generations. It differs in geographies. It differs. And you can have the interesting thing about New Jersey, like where we are now, it feel like you got a church on every corner. I ain't gonna lie. This 15-mile radius might have about 8 or 9 churches that I'm thinking of.
Yes. Yep.
Right? So, and they'll have a church down the street from another one that is completely different.
Yep.
So it's hard to identify what tradition is. And I think that actually probably also is a good segue to start the episode off. All right, y'all. Welcome to Sabbath Lunch. Let's see what's on the menu. So today,
I like
I
that.
was gonna start saying it's kind of hot, right?
that.
It's kinda hot, right? Come on now, we grown, yes sir, but I gotta keep the mic. You gotta. But no, so we
why
trying.
not that?
Another thing I want to talk about. We got cue cards now, y'all, and we got cue cards. So if you ever thought we weren't serious, it's a little different now. So before I used to be on my cellular device.
Mercy, Father.
And now I'm on the cue card. Shout out to Jay for making it happen. So let's talk about the episode. Today we want to talk about church hurt, navigating church hurt, and the many layers that is. A lot of times we see church hurt take place, whether it's in the little churches or the big churches or at church schools or just within church families or your real family. Some churches are full of your family, and you might have a fight with your uncle, and that now goes and becomes church hurt, right? So the first question we wanted to talk about today is, and I'm curious to hear y'all's voices on this, right? When you think about church hurt at this stage of life, what does it feel like?
At this stage.
Yeah, at this stage of life.
I would say that at this stage in my life, church, being hurt by the church would probably cut me much deeper now than it would when I was younger. And I think that's because my experience growing up, I had a very large church body family. So the hurt would feel a bit more private between me and the person who hurt me, or me and the offending party. And I could, again, slink away into another corner of my large church, or just, give them space until things kind of cooled off, and depending on the hurt, of course. But now as an adult, or as an older adult, sorry, I think that the kind of hurt that would affect me, that I guess I would label as church hurt, would wound me to my core. Goodness. It would be something that may cause me to question the community as a whole, the church as a whole, that particular church. Hopefully not the entire denominational family, but if it was a shared opinion that hurt me,
Right, you odd man out.
Yeah, I might have to take some time in the desert, 40 days or so.
I hear you on that. What's y'all's perspective?
I think I might actually be the opposite. So which I find interesting because, to be fair, I guess to kind of give validity to my context, I am new at my church. I just started pastoring in April. And so it hasn't even really been a whole year. So I'm still trying to know who people are. I'm still trying to remember faces. And so I think for me, where I'm at in my life, this is also just me as a person as well. I've learned to not take to heart what a lot of people say. Like I've just like, oh, like that's really what you think? Like that's crazy. Okay. And then I just like go about my day. And so I've kind of just developed this mentality of like, okay, people can say stuff and they already have and they already do and they already will continue to do. Like the church hurt is something that's going to happen regardless, because when we're in community, we're going to hurt one another. That's just true. That's just inevitable. And so, but I think the way I just kind of come at it and I approach it is more so like, oh wow, Lord, like help me to just be on my knees and pray for this person while you and I just remain tight. Like me and God, we're tighter than a lockjaw, right? Than a clam and a lock. What is that? Y'all know that phrase that I'm saying? Tighter
than a lockjaw.
Tighter than a clam and a lockjaw, or something like that.
That's all you.
That's all me. Okay.
That feels That feels very New England.
Maybe it's a Southern thing. I don't know if
He's from the South.
Okay, but Louisiana South and Georgia South are two different
Right,
Souths.
and I'm Florida South. And
Right, that's way
I'm
different.
Everglades South.
Okay,
I'm
but my
not sure what that
family's
is.
from Georgia. My family's from Georgia. Anyways.
Okay.
But yes.
All right, what is it again?
I don't know, tighter than a clam and a lock. Mom, if you see this, can you help me out with this? Because you say it all the time.
That does sound notoriously Southern. Though.
Like it's very Southern.
Bible Belt.
Very.
Yes. That's actually hilarious how those three Souths are very different.
They are.
That Georgia South, I don't know nothing about it. I don't even like Atlanta like that. I'm being real. I don't even like it.
Wow.
I know.
And I ain't never been to Louisiana. I'm not gonna hold you like
You
might not be able to go to the city for a minute, bro.
I'm so sorry.
You missing out.
So sorry.
In Miami.
We're not.
Anyways.
Leave us alone. Leave us alone. We're having a hard time.
That's okay. All right, but what about y'all? When you think about church hurt at this stage, we might not even know exactly what we're all talking about when we say church hurt.
Yeah, we should probably like, what is?
What comes to
what do you
mind?
define?
And I feel like there's no actual definition for church hurt.
Right.
We might all have our own understandings of it, but I want you guys to share. Like, what do you think about when church hurt comes to mind?
For me, the feeling that comes up is righteous anger. And it's not even, I mean, I've been hurt within the church before, but for me, it's less about my own experiences having been hurt now and more about seeing others hurt within the church.
But like an empathetic response.
Yeah, I feel like we should be beyond this. I don't know. But it's like, for example, there was one time that I invited someone to the church, right? And here you are telling them, oh, come as you are. It's going to be okay. And then you bring them in and, you're...
It was not okay.
No, it's not. Your church is not as welcoming as they should be, maybe, or, they're getting weird looks because they didn't have the right attire, or, they didn't have enough money to buy a suit, or you're not there with them one day and nobody says hi to them, things like that. And there are other stories, of course, but just seeing others hurt within the church hurts me because we should be representing Christ better than that.
I think for me, my feeling and my definition intertwined. I think for me, church hurt I define in my head as the harm done by either the people, the administration, or the theology of a church on the person. And I guess my feeling is,
Yes, we found a definition.
well, it doesn't have to be a
Webster
definition.
over here.
My feeling is my feeling differs by the level and like what type of church are we talking about? What type of church are we talking about? Are we talking about interpersonal? Are we talking about the administration towards a church member? Are we talking about the community's actions towards somebody who isn't part of the community yet, or in the community in general? Or are we talking about to somebody or a community that's reacting to years and years of hearing a harmful theology in their service?
So I think that's the good old broad definition.
Yeah.
I think we got a pretty good clue on it.
Yeah, that's pretty all-encompassing, I would say. Yeah.
So then when we're looking at church hurt, there comes the question of, all right, when is church hurt valid? Like, what's that mean, right? When is church hurt valid? When is it, for lack of a better term, frivolous, right? Like there are sometimes when people are hurt and you're kind of like, hey man, I kind of feel like that happened all the time. I don't know. But there's sometimes when people are hurt and you're like, wow, I can't believe that happened to you. How do you differentiate the two?
I think, it depends so much on the details. But something I always try to think about is the event that happened to you a bug or a feature? Meaning that like,
Ooh.
is it something that comes about like in moments, or
This guy is spitting.
do you see
You spoke to
is
the
this
IT.
like is this an overlap that we don't see about an oversight about the church that is harmful, that just is going to happen continuously? And if it is a feature, it's hard. If it is a feature, it always draws up much more bigger conversations, because now we have to figure out like, why is this here? Is this tradition? Is this misinterpretation of theology? Is this just cultural biases in the church? And then figure out how to dismantle this. And of course, I'm saying all this, but all these things are easier said than done.
There was a time period, I think, where I was bringing somebody to church. Every time I brought them to church, they would have a complaint about the church, right? And at first, they were feeling like, I have so many complaints. I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And my perspective was like, you got so many complaints. I think you're supposed to be here because you ain't said nothing but a word.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think that in order for that to become valid and rectified, you have to have a leadership that is willing to listen to it. So, how do you go about choosing a church, and is that in your mind when you're choosing a church where you are least likely, per se, to get hurt? Maybe that's most aligned with you. Is that part of your narrative, part of your mechanism of picking?
I don't think it should be. And like I mentioned earlier, I mean, we do community with people, and we're doing community with broken people, not whole people. The whole point of the church is it's a hospital, right? And so, or it should be a hospital, okay? Not full of perfect people, but it's full of imperfect people trying to become like Christ, right? And so, like, the whole purpose is you will have moments where you're going to be hurt. I think, and to kind of go on that to answer your question, I think we shouldn't be so scared of the pain, because a lot of times the pain can be growing pains, right? God puts us in community for a reason. We weren't designed just Adam here and Eve there. No, he put Adam and Eve, put them together so that way they could become one. We were designed with community in mind. And so I think that this whole idea like, oh, I don't want to join this church potentially because like they could hurt me. Okay, well, you can literally throw a dart somewhere, pick a church, and you're still gonna get hurt. Like you're still gonna get hurt. So why are we tiptoeing around this idea that I'm gonna find a perfect place where everybody's just gonna be sunshine and rainbows and da 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 da? I don't think that should be at the forefront, but I think we should be wise into what church spaces we do take root in. So I'm not saying go into a toxic church and be like, Pastor Horton told me to. No, but I am saying like I don't think it should be the forefront of like, oh, I don't want to ever be hurt. That's just not realistic.
I guess for me then, but I think about it's different than, well, yeah, you're right. The church is full of broken people, but some places and some structures make it easier for some sins to abound.
1000%.
And
Can you give an example, if possible?
sure, I think a church that sometimes, like there's some churches where the pastor is God. Like
Yes.
the members will probably can feel like, yeah, Jesus came down. It's Pastor so-and-so right there. And I can understand, you might feel the spirit. You might feel like the pastor's like really deep in the world, but that underlying viewpoint of your pastor now gives them power to enact a lot of things without necessarily like accountability or responsibility. Now, I'm not trying to say like pastors like, well, a pastor's job is easy or things of that nature, but like I am saying that I think that the structure there can now be an opportunity that maybe that pastor might not do, but somebody else might come into that flock and then run damage. So it's, I guess I understand like we have to remind ourselves that the church is full of broken people, but the question is like, even is there glue in the church or is there a hammer in the church?
Is there glue in the
Church, or is there a hammer?
I knew you wanted to respond. I wanted to give you some space.
I was waiting to see if anybody else wanted to hop
That was
in.
very
But
kind of you.
yeah, please. But I did want to say, like, no, like that's so point. And there's a difference. There is a huge difference in allowing tomfoolery to persist and holding people accountable. Iron sharpens iron, right? We were there not to just let a pastor be put on a pedestal and be glorified as God himself, right? We as congregants should be bold enough and be like, hey, that's not like, that's not right? Like we should, that's the whole point of community, is we grow and we strengthen one another and we hold each other accountable on the foolishness that happens in the church.
But I think that's the ideal. That actually is the ideal, that we hold each other accountable, the leadership and the congregation. I think what happens more often than not is more to what Ifani stated, or the example that previously response, where the leadership, sometimes maybe just the pastor, is put on a pedestal of power, and no one checks them, and whatever they say, whatever they does gets written in stone, and then everyone falls in line like sheep to a shepherd. And if somebody comes into this new flock and sees a problem, they're the black sheep.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's, even though the question of avoiding hurt shouldn't be on the forefront of our mind, because there's so much hurt going on outside of the hospital. I've come to the hospital for treatment. I know I'm here among other sick people, but now my illness and your illness are put on a grading scale. And I'm the newest person, the newest inpatient.
And now you're the doctor.
Right. Like, and now I have to, I'm patient zero just like the rest of you, but now I have to be the one to save everybody and to check them, and people are resisting the treatment. To say, like, this is false, this is inaccurate, this doesn't portray the love of Christ that we claim that we should be the claim to have or claim to portray. And now I think that's where legalism versus love come to butt heads.
So then what should accountability look like in a healthy church? What does accountability look like?
Healthy.
Hey, yo.
I'm joking. Joe.
Microphone.
No, I think accountability in a healthy church looks like what, for Krista or Pastor Horton?
Whatever floats your boat, my friend.
Pastor Krista. What Pastor Krista stated earlier, where there is a meeting place between a bridge between the congregants and the leadership. Checks and balances, honestly. Something is amiss, I think it should be rectified, or it should be discussed and rectified as soon as possible within the confines of the respect and privacy that it deserves. If, for example, if I go to a church and the pastor says something that is doctrinally ambiguous, I think it's okay to approach the pastor at the end of the sermon and to discuss it with them, ask for proof, ask for, like, show me the facts, show me the scripture that supports this, show me if it's based on Adventist doctrine, you know, how things kind of proceed, the blend between Bible and history, then show me all of the facts that brought you to this point. And if it's accurate, then it's okay, fine. You know, I've now grown, cool. But if it's not accurate, then I think they should say something. Because it was a public miscommunication, I think publicly they should be the one to correct it, as opposed to me pulling out a megaphone. It's like, and from the parking lot, I'm saying, this might not talk nonsense. And here is why. You know, I don't want to embarrass anybody.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that when we are a part of a community, when we agree to be a part of a community, we're also agreeing to subject ourselves to some degree of accountability.
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Do you think that all of us actually make that conscious decision?
Probably not.
Okay.
You funny?
I don't think so, because I don't think a lot of people in church are in church willfully. I think a lot of us are been born into this faith, this tradition. So church is an integral or almost like an instinct of our lives, not as opposed to like a willful decision. So when you're there, it's just like, oh, this is just what I do. Like I don't choose to stay in my house. I live there. So church is just part of like who I am, part of the culture. My family is this many levels of like Christian or Adventist, and then you're there. And when that church comes in, it just feels
Nepotism?
listen, there's a lot of nepotism, but when it's there, you're just suddenly, it can almost like take you, like shock you, especially when I realize that, especially when I think for some people who are maybe born or in a place of privilege at the church, right? Maybe there's some people where their family has done a lot in church or something of that nature, so there's a certain prestige or stuff that they get in church, and when they can go into another environment, or maybe just didn't switch up into church, they're like, oh, I didn't expect, you don't know who, oh, you treat me like, you talk to me like that, whoa, and then it can just shatter and just like revamp their whole view on everything.
And might I say, I actually have an issue with that mentality or that mindset that, oh, I don't actually know why I'm here. I'm just here just to be here. Like,
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I'm just here. Right. And to me, now I'm wondering, so then why are you here? Like, genuinely, like why are, like.
Power. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, I do think, I had a first lady say this to me one time. She said, oh, wow, you know what? Hopefully this isn't too inflammatory. But she said something, she was like, you know, there are a lot of non-converted Adventists at my church. Right? And the way she saw it was like, she felt like there were a lot of people that were there that were just there. It's almost like a social club, right?
Okay.
This is where their community lies, and this is part of their unspoken community rules that we are attending here, and we are here 4 or 5 days out the week, right? Like doing whatever. Yeah. But they might not have had yet a spiritual experience, right? There's Saul to Paul type of moment.
Right. And I'm not saying that that's not part of the process, okay? Like, that was me. It took me, 18 years of my life until I was like, oh, yeah, no, I definitely want to do life with God. Like, I'm not negating the process, but at least the question should be posed at some point in time. What are you doing here? Why are you Adventist? Why do you come to church on Sabbath? What do you actually believe in? Like, this is something that we should be encouraging people to ask these questions and to figure it out for themselves. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to make it to the kingdom off of my mama's faith. Right. I'm not making it to the kingdom off of my daddy's pastoral ministry. I'm not making it to the kingdom off of anybody else except for my relationship with Christ. And so if we're just here just to ride the motions, but we actually don't know the person of why we're there in the first place, then what is the point? Like, why are we here? Like, no, seriously. Like,
that's a good question, but I don't know if that question is actually asked too frequently.
It's not.
I think that question's complicated too, because sometimes we can speak like the decision to leave the church doesn't have consequences, especially if you're born in an Adventist family. Or, I mean, a Christian family just altogether, right? Yeah. If your grandpappy has been a pastor and like your whole family is just in it, you saying one day I don't want to go to church isn't a different decision. It is shame now. It is, you are outside of this. You're not just that. Let's say like you went to a Christian school, Christian college, all these things. Your whole life is built around this. So you don't have the escape to just walk away from it. So that honestly in life, you don't never get a chance to ask yourself like, why am I here? Because because life has told you, you have to be here or you will be alone.
Goodness. So as a church,
I wanted to make a comment about I forgot how you phrased it. I don't remember which one of you said it. Sorry. It was like Adventist non-converts or something.
Non-converted Adventists.
Non-converted Adventists. I think a lot of the time we can speak from our own experiences, right? Being adults. But a lot of those... One more time.
Non-converted Adventists.
Non-converted Adventists are kids. And I remember, for me, growing up in the church, that was me. I wasn't there because I wanted, no offense.
And that's so real.
And what church was that again?
Hey, yo!
Stop advertising.
Listen, not the point. But at some point, or before I made the decision to be there for myself because I wanted to be there and not because somebody else was telling me to be there. There were years of me just going because I was brought there, you know? And I think that for the kids that are in church now, they kind of have the mindset of like, well, I'm just here because this is something that I have to do.
Yeah.
And my friends are here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So going back to that question about, is it a conscious decision? For a lot of them, it's not. You know?
I think I think that's where it starts. I think for those who were born in the church, whether it was Adventist church or another denomination of Christianity, that at first this is for most of them, I'm not saying most, a lot of us, this is what I'm told to do. This is what my family does, so this is where I'm going. And you happen to build your own little mini community with your like friends your age, and then Sabbath school is there, then AWIB's there, and for the lucky few who can make it, Pathfinders is there, and it kind of like keeps you grounded in this before you really act. Like you're saying the words, you're reading the scripture and stuff like that, but I don't know when it clicks for you that I want to be here for more than just the people. And the people here, I'm hoping they want to be here as well for more than just me and the community. That we're actually here for the person that this was built around. I want to be here for the ideal of serving my community, being a light in the world, being a better person spiritually. So I don't think I think at a certain age point, that's okay to have that tradition to kind of ground you. But when you become an adult or when you start to mature into asking yourself more introspective questions, I think as a Christian, regardless of denomination, that is one of the most important questions that you can ask yourself. Why am I here? What do I want to get out of this? What have I gotten out of this? And if I need help or if I need clarity, who can I run to?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we push that back towards the conversation of church hurt and recognizing that we have a lot of individuals that maybe haven't asked that question yet, when is it okay to say, I'm going to leave this place?
I think it's a good time. Like, I think a good point to leave. I saw you. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm excited to say talk about it too.
I think a good point to, and I say good point in quotation because I think that's a bittersweet experience, especially if it's a place that you grew up in. But I think at a point where you have seen a problem and you've addressed it with leadership, you've addressed it amongst your friends, kind of like to check in mentality, like, I'm not being too sensitive about this. This isn't a personal issue. This is bigger than me. This is something foundationally wrong that needs to be addressed. And you have pressed the issue and you're seeing no solution. I think at that point, when there is no change and everyone is ready, everybody is happy with the status quo, that, yeah, it's time to separate. Because it can be a detriment to you spiritually if you stay.
Yes. Just yes. We should be okay with leaving toxic churches. Like, we should be okay when churches are, like you were saying, theologically are not sound. If you know a church is preaching prosperity gospel, aka you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength, go out and get that Bentley, and if the blessings go up, if the praises go up, the blessings will come down. That's prosperity gospel. If the church is preaching that, like,
There's a lamb in Lamborghini.
yeah, there's a that's a new one.
Watch out now.
like that's toxic theology, right? Because that's not biblical. If you see that and the church is like actively eating that up, run, right? If we see justice not being administered, kind of like what you were saying, if we see abuse of power and abuse of just individuals for their talents, for their gifts, or even just for who they are, then that's not a healthy church. That's toxic. run, right? like get out of there. And so I think we need to be okay with, even if it is the churches that we grew up in. That's the thing. Like even if it is something that we're comfortable with or that we know. Like at the end of the day, folks, the point of community is to grow. My greatest fear is being stagnant.
Yeah.
That should be all of our greatest fears, is being stagnant. And if the place that you are in is toxic to the point that it is making you stagnant,
Goodness.
flee, run, don't look back, don't turn into that pillar of salt. Like that's why. Don't look back.
But I do want to like kind of like emphasize, leaving your church doesn't mean you have to leave the church.
Come on.
It does.
People get that real mixed up.
Right.
Please.
Because I want, like, ideally and theologically, if the doctrine is sound, if what you've seen and what the church should be, how the church should be operating, and the message that we should be promoting isn't happening in this church or these churches in this area based on like the geographical location, that doesn't inherently mean that the church as a whole is the problem. And there are so many other options, whether it be another Adventist church, or like I said earlier in the beginning, even just taking some time to yourself to make sure that you're strong enough to be amongst other believers. But still, we are a community. We are communal creatures. We are meant to be each other's support system. Iron can't sharpen itself on its own. A wolf can't survive in the wilderness on its own. It needs a pack. So find another church, find another community, find some source of refuge out there, because it's not impossible to be with God alone, but it does make the journey, and I think does make the walk a bit more difficult.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
I think that a lot of times as Adventists, we get this idea that, like, well, I don't know, at least for me and in my, coming from a Caribbean culture, there are a lot of people telling you that, oh, well, it's Sabbath, which means that you have to be within the four walls of this church, That's not what the Bible says. The Bible describes the church as the body of Christ, right? And our Sabbath is a day of rest. It's a day in which we can remember our Creator, and it's a day that is holy and to be set apart, and to spend with God, So if you are navigating church hurt, getting outside of the church, going outside in nature, maybe not in this weather, but I mean, to each his own, but, but going outside, doing something new, doing something that helps you to reflect more on God's love, your relationship with God, all that He's done for you, getting away, that's okay.
Yeah.
And just taking that time and that space to acknowledge what you're feeling, going back to the question that you were asking earlier about, like, when is it kind of like valid or not valid? I think everyone's experience is valid. How we deal with it is what's important. So take that space, take that time, acknowledge what you're feeling, get away with God, not away from God, with God, and, navigate that. And then, come back if and when you're ready. Ask God, too. I think praying about it. Ask God, is it time for me to leave? What do you think? Should I go to a different church? Do you want me to stay here? What is it that you want me to do?
Yeah, and that's a good point that you mentioned, because, like, I know, like, as someone who grew up as a pastor's kid, I've never experienced a life where I stayed at a church my entire life. Like, I genuinely don't know what that's like, going to a church and, like, oh, like, that's auntie so-and-so and she was the one who changed my diapers. Like, I genuinely, like, don't know if, like, having a good, close best friend that I grew up with, because we, like, did, like, Cradle Roll to Pathfinders to everything together. Like, I genuinely don't know what that is like. And so, but now I guess I'm just wondering, and I'm just thinking out loud, like, are we meant to stay? Like,
That's a great question.
are we meant to stay in church communities for like our entire lives? Like, this is just a question though.
That's a
So
good
I don't
question.
know. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just like, cause I'm just curious.
I think everyone's journey is different. I think everybody's purpose is different. And I would say if the community that the church is in is constantly growing and constantly moving and shifting, then you could spend your time at that church because the
Got it.
experiences will constantly change. The people in the community will be different, but at the same time, the same. So I don't think I understand the idea of it's been 5 years. It's time for me to take my journey elsewhere, take my talents to this other location. And to help out there. And I know for pastors, that's kind of like a tradition that they do move them from place to place. But I can't say for sure that you have to leave
Right.
or stay, plant your roots, be that oak tree that helps fortify the foundation because I think everyone's purpose generally is different and your call to minister is based on your fruits and your gifts.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's a really interesting point, though.
It is.
That I don't know if we have established that perspective enough that sometimes you're not supposed to be at the same place for 40 years.
Ooh.
If that's actually a bit more widely established, and people can probably pose that question a bit better, I think it's time for me to move forward. A question I have when we talk about this, right? That oak tree that you discussed just now, right? That fortified oak tree. Sometimes when they realize they need to go, let's talk about the guilt that can be associated with maybe not being able to, in their perspective, save, right, the church that they're leaving. You might say that this place is obviously not fortifying me. I need to go, but that poor culture that you're exiting, right? Like you didn't get to fix it, and maybe it might be your brothers and sisters, it might be your cousins, but it 100% will likely be people you care about that are still there enduring that.
I have an example I can use to kind of address that is Moses. He took them from Egypt, brought them through the wilderness, and was able to survey the promised land, but was not able to take them there. That wasn't his mission.
Oof.
He did everything he was supposed to do, and then had to hand the reins over to Joshua to actually take him in. Same thing for David. He designed the temple,
Right.
but his son Solomon was the one that built it. So maybe our purpose is to sow the seed and then have the community water the vineyard.
That's pretty good.
Come on, Bible. Come on,
Sorry,
Bible.
I don't know.
Okay, Miami.
Question.
Okay, Miami.
Was it okay? Theologically,
Correct me
I'm
if I'm
sorry.
wrong, please.
Yeah, I'm not trying to okay.
No, try.
This is the forum to ask the question. But did Moses not make it to the promised land because it wasn't his mission or because of his sin?
Sin.
Ooh.
Fair.
Sin.
Correct. All right, corrected because I was wrong.
Come on,
Thank you.
accountability.
Really right.
Come on, accountability.
Yeah,
Thank you for
Do it. It sounded so
for
good.
Part of the community.
Thank you for the sharpening. Thank you.
Wow.
Iron sharpens iron.
Come on. Look at that. This is Bible. This is Bible.
Look at us.
Closing the loop.
Oh man, that's
Yeah, you're right. The overall point that I was trying to make is that maybe our purpose is not to see this all the way through to the end. Maybe we have a point where we have to put down the reins and either move on to another location or move on to the great beyond. I don't know.
Just like Moses, we probably have to deal with our own sin and how it influences our journeys too.
Yes,
Sometimes-
because our personal problems could probably hurt the mission that we're trying to complete.
Yeah.
Sometimes some things just gotta be blown up. So
What do you mean by that?
some church culture, some strongholds of harmful theology, some people in power, something's just gotta be blown up. I'm not saying they can't be a point of restoration, but some things they just gotta go.
So like Nehemiah rebuilding the temple.
Yeah,
Okay.
More like God in the wilderness. I just gotta wait 40 years, and a new generation is gonna come about.
Yeah, I was thinking more like David when everybody like knew about like the whole Bathsheba foolishness, like
Okay.
him being exposed. That's what I was thinking.
So yeah.
Okay.
But the point of like in the guilt about leaving, I think it's complicated. So I struggle with this, but I think sometimes our Christian theology has suffering as an idol, where you have to, like, you're suffering. If you're suffering for God, it's a good thing. If you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're in despair, if you're in pain, and it's attached to something of the church, that's a good thing. And I'm struggling to find any Bible verse about this, but maybe this is my radical idea. But maybe sometimes when we're suffering, like, God, I'm doing this for you. God is up there in heaven, like, I didn't even ask you that.
There is a scripture that talks about suffering for Christ. Somebody help me.
Oh no, girl. Even I would have to be like Google.
I'm looking at Ray.
But I wonder, I mean, am I correct? Like, there is a scripture that talks about, like, that, suffering for Christ, it speaks highly of that, right? But do you think that sometimes we conflate that with
Yes.
just...
Yes. Sometimes I think sometimes, and this is actually a trait of spiritual abuse and church hurt as well, where we over spiritualize a lot of things. I think that sometimes we can look at suffering and we can say, "Man, I'm suffering for I stubbed my toe on the way to church. That's for Jesus." Jesus is like, you should just watch where you're walking. But
what I give you them eyes for?
Listen, I wonder, like, because we work really hard to almost like give a lens of our suffering and how hard life is, do we sometimes encourage, or do people sometimes take that understanding and like blow it up to ridiculous places where like they now add like that suffering to like instances where it's general abuse, and they're like, well, no, but I'm suffering for God. It's like, well, no, that person is just very cruel to you. We should stop this. I'm suffering for God, that's why I'm here. Well, no, this place you need to leave. And I think that part of that guilt can come from that theology of like, I should endure, right? We think about the verses, I have ran my race, right? Or like, we think about the church founders that were trying to be like the apostles, things of that nature. And we think that the way we're going about it, like enduring through the suffering, is what we should replicate. When have we asked ourselves, is this place something I'm supposed to, is this place, this moment, a time when I'm actually supposed to suffer?
I think I think there are a few verses that talk about that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, and I don't know if this is the one you were referring to, but it's 2 Corinthians 12. That's where he's like, Paul is talking about his thorn and everything. And then after he says, so I'm well pleased with weaknesses, insults, distresses, persecution, like all of those things. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So I think that could be one. But there are other verses too. What I wanted to highlight was with the question that you asked about feeling guilty, leaving the church. I think we get in the habit of believing more in our ability to fail than God's ability to succeed in fixing whatever needs to be fixed. I feel like I probably said that in the worst,
I think I know what you mean.
the most complicated way, but
We putting too much on ourselves.
yeah, like if God is going to fix it, like maybe it wasn't your job. And I think that goes back to the planting seeds thing, but if we're not able to do something, that's okay. Like God already has it covered. He probably already knew. He did already know what was going to happen. But we have to remember that God is in control.
Yeah.
And we have to believe in that more than we kind of beat ourselves up for not doing everything.
Yeah, and I just want to hop in and say like that's so hard because we're trying to fight pride right? Because we want to have purpose. We want to matter. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can. But at the end of the day, that's a pride thing, because the whole point of why we are Christians is to spread the gospel, to preach the good news, to let people know about Jesus. But here's the thing. God invites us to join him in spreading the gospel. He doesn't have to use us.
Ooh.
Right. Ooh.
He doesn't have to use us to spread the gospel. But the beautiful thing about us being wonderfully and fearfully made in his image is that we all have a separate skill set to be able to reach a certain group of people in a certain congregation. And so, like, that's why he still utilizes us. But at the end of the day, we don't hold God up. God holds us up.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, that's the whole thing. And so we like to be like, oh, it's all on me. I'm the one. I'm the chosen one, Jesus. And you just need to sit down. Like, just sit several seats down. Because God has been doing this before you even thought of, and he's going to continue to do it after you. Please, Lord, come sooner than that. But yeah, and so yeah, that's an interesting point that you pointed out. There is this pride aspect that we are constantly fighting because we want to be like, yeah, I did this for the church. Girl, girl, sit down.
I have a question to that church pride, right? So I think we've been speaking about like church hurt and the things, like when it happens to people and things of that nature, but how do we react when someone says you're the one perpetuating church hurt?
And I,
Woo! And nice Uno reverse. Nice Uno.
It's gonna have to be a part 2.
yeah, that's actually a very good question. I hate to tell you, it might have to be our question we're going to leave them on.
No.
Because we kind of are at time.
Okay.
But I really do mean that. Hey, what we talk about here is not meant to stay here.
Yeah.
We hope that this Sabbath lunch conversation can bleed into your Sabbath lunch conversation, and that you can really start having some other discussions that can not just shake the room, but bring the room together. So thank y'all for being here.
Thank you for
This
having
was
us.
really fun.
Thank you.
This was really fun. Pastor Chris, I'm going to come hear you preach.
No.
I don't know if much pressure on. I'm going to come hear you preach. And we going to find out about you.
Pull out your best denim.
So you want me to get fired? Is what you're
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that at all.
We want to see a Canadian tuxedo, denim jacket.
Yo.
Denim vest.
I like to like shake up tradition. Like things get a little too stagnant.
And this is why today I was so happy it was HBCU day at Kodo, and why I was able to rep my school and my jeans. Pastor Brissette gave me permission, guys. Okay, you guys heard me on record. Okay, so I'm not wilding out here.
Right.
You got permission.
But you might be wilding out there. Okay, and so
So turn to Jesus.
well, for real, hey, thank y'all for watching. We gonna catch y'all and catch us next time too. Peace out. Hey, what's up, y'all? If you liked that episode, make sure to watch our other ones.
All right, so our YouTube and Instagram pages are Sabbath Lunch Pod Official, and you can go ahead and watch all of our videos, like our page, subscribe to our pages, and share with your friends.
And make sure to comment too, because sometimes we need help knowing what to talk about next, so we believe in you. Thank you. Peace.